The modern vegan cookout is no longer just the sad veggie option. Today's grills are packed with smoky mushroom skewers, charred peaches. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Sizzling plant-based sausages, black bean burgers, jerk cauliflower steaks, and rainbow vegetables caramelizing over open flame. For conscious and ethical consumers, grilling plant-based foods has become part of food culture. Part climate action, part culinary creativity. Hello, and welcome to the ShopLogic podcast. I am your host, Adrienne, and today's episode is all about the 4th of July, just around the corner. So, if it is your first time listening to ShopLogic, you might be wondering what this podcast is all about. All things pertaining to ethical consumerism, mindful consumerism, conscious consumerism. ShopLogic is a website, app, this podcast, and soon to be ethical brand certifier. With me, you can learn how to buy better, read labels, be aware of how our purchases impact our health, the environment, animals, and laborers. Learn with me how you can shop guilt-free and know which brands to choose or avoid, and make positive impact on animals, people, and the planet, one purchase at a time. Why do you buy what you buy? Is it a good deal, on sale, low price, out of impulse, or retail therapy? Or perhaps a memorable ad, clever marketing, and trendy packaging works well on you. This podcast is all about hitting pause before we purchase and understanding the implications of our shopping choices, and ultimately buying with more in mind. So, not just the 4th of July is going to be discussed on today's episode. Well, it's the 4th of July theme. So, that's going to include grilling out, what are carcinogens, vegan hot dogs and burger brands, beer, fireworks impact on the environment, on animals, and our health. And by the way, July happens to be National Grilling Month. So that is why today's theme is based mostly around grilled meats and grilled meat alternatives. Let's take a bite out of our first topic, traditional grilling out burgers and hot dogs. Might not be such a surprise that they're not the healthiest choice, but let's get into different things about this subject and barbecuing in general. The rise of the suburbs is what helped create the backyard grilling culture many people associate with summer holidays today. Charcoal grills exploded in popularity thanks to companies like Weber, which helped turn grilling into a lifestyle rather than just a cooking method. And by the 1950s and 60s in the US, fast food chains industrialized the burger. Massive feedlots, factory farming, and processed meat systems followed. Today, burgers and hot dogs are tied not only to celebrations, but also debates about sustainability, public health, labor rights, and climate change. All things us ethical consumers really care about. Imagine two very different cookouts. One will be the industrial cookout. This would include styrofoam plates, cheap charcoal lighter fluid smell, plastic condiment bottles, factory farmed burgers dripping in grease, processed hot dogs packed with preservatives, and disposable everything that gets used once and tossed away in the trash. Then we have the ethical or eco-conscious cookout. That might include reusable metal trays and compostable plates, mushroom burgers or plant-based options, organic veggies roasting beside proteins, solar lanterns instead of disposable decorations, minimal food waste, and farmer market toppings and homemade sauces. The second version is becoming increasingly popular among eco-conscious and health-focused consumers. What is wrong with burgers and hot dogs? Well, from a health perspective, processed hot dogs are officially classified as carcinogenic. But what does that mean? The World Health Organization and its cancer research arm classify processed meat, including hot dogs, sausages, bacon, deli meat, as carcinogenic to humans. That does not mean eating one hot dog equals smoking cigarettes. A major misconception is that same category means the same danger. It actually refers to the strength of evidence, not identical to the risk level. But grilling itself creates compounds linked to cancer cancer risk. When meat is charred or cooked at those extremely high temperatures, chemicals called HCAs and PAHs can form. These are associated with increased cancer risk in laboratory studies. Not only that, burgers can contribute to rainforest destruction. You might have listened to a previous episode I made on this podcast all about the rainforest. If you haven't checked that out, be sure to listen to it right after this one. A significant amount of rainforest land, especially in Brazil, has been cleared for cattle ranching and soy feed production. For livestock, not soy for people, but soy for cows. And hot dogs, those come from pigs typically, and they often contain surprisingly many ingredients. Some conventional hot dogs that we see every day in the store include nitrates and nitrites, preservatives, stabilizers, corn syrup, flavor enhancers, medically separated meat. Higher quality or uncured versions may avoid some of these additives, but it's advised strongly to avoid them. Here are some misconceptions about grilling out. Organic hot dogs are automatically healthy. Not necessarily. Organic processed meat is still processed meat. Charcoal is more natural, so it's healthier, right? Well, actually, charcoal grilling can create more smoke and more PAHs compared to gas grilling. Plant burgers are always healthier. Well, some of those plant burgers are highly processed and can contain significant sodium or additives. Others are nutritionally excellent. The ingredient lists do matter. But remember, with plant-based, there's never cholesterol because cholesterol always comes from animal products. And the next misconception, grass-fed beef solves everything. Well, grass-fed systems may improve animal welfare and some environmental outcomes, but cattle still produce methane emissions and require large land use, not to mention the animal welfare itself. Here are some healthier grilling hacks. Marinate your burgers. Studies suggest marinades with herbs, lemon juice, garlic, vinegar, spices can actually reduce harmful compounds formed during grilling. Your veggies and your veggie burgers, that is. Avoid heavy charring. The blackened, crispy parts many people love are often where those HCAs concentrate. And here are some veggies you can add to the grill. Zucchini, peppers, mushrooms, pineapple, okay, not a veggie. And that's interesting. I would have never thought pineapple, corn on the cob, and onions. Those all produce fewer harmful compounds and increase fiber and antioxidants. Good to know. Use blended burgers. A growing trend includes mixing mushrooms or lentils into your veggie burgers. And flip those burgers frequently. Some research suggests frequently flipping may reduce HCA formation. On to the labor and ethics side of grilling, many industrial meat workers face dangerous working conditions, repetitive injuries, low wages, difficult factory environments. Ethical consumers increasingly seek union-friendly producers, local farms, regenerative agriculture, transparent supply chains. And besides, who really wants to work in a slaughterhouse after all? These are typically those who have no other choice. It is a job that nobody wants to do, so you might want to think about that before you bite into your next beef burger. Not just for the animals, those laborers too. Here are some veggie burger ideas, although it is super convenient to obviously go to the grocery in the frozen food section or the refrigeration section and get a Beyond Burger or an Impossible Burger. Ugh, those Impossible Burgers are so good. Or your typical old school black bean burger, grilled cauliflower steaks, jackfruit sliders, veggie skewers, and mushroom burnt ends. Be sure to check out the ShopLogic app where you can find all kinds of other brands that will offer some vegan alternatives to meat that will suffice your sausage, hot dog, burger, cookout. Well, the good news is with innovation and progress for grilling out, cleaner charcoal alternatives are starting to appear. Newer briquettes and lump charcoal options reduce additives and lighter fluid chemicals. But what's better, of course, is the electric grill. Modern electric grills can dramatically reduce smoke pollution in apartments and urban spaces. And there are better plant-based meats. Like I mentioned, Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat have really pushed plant-based grilling into the mainstream. Cultivated meat is also something I talk about a lot. That means it was grown in a lab. And I'm sure you're thinking, well, that's just not natural. But neither is the amount of cows on this planet or all of the environmental destruction and deforestation that occurs to produce beef. So scientists can actually develop lab-grown meat that could eventually reduce animal slaughter, land use, water use, rainforest destruction. Though the technology is still currently facing cost and scale challenges, but I hope it comes out really soon. But for now, we do have those Impossible Burgers, thankfully. And don't get me wrong, I don't like to eat Impossible Burgers every single day, probably not even every single week, but it is a nice indulgent treat every now and then. Who doesn't love some kind of burger? A meat eater might question, why are you eating burgers that look like meat, taste like meat? If you're vegan, why do that? Well, because for me, my main concern is the animal welfare. I don't want to contribute to the exploitation and harm and slaughtering and killing of cows, of course. So that's my main reason. Also for my health, it's a much better alternative. As I mentioned, no cholesterol, that's the biggest one. No hormones, no antibiotics. You won't find hormones or antibiotics or cholesterol ever in plants. Moving on, here are some fun facts about grilling. Well, this is not so fun. Americans eat billions of hot dogs each year, especially around the Independence Day holiday. Also, mushrooms naturally contain umami compounds that make them ideal burger extenders. Some chefs intentionally use coffee grounds in burger rubs for smoky flavor without excessive charring. For many people, the future of grilling is not never eat burgers again, it's eat them less often, choose higher quality ingredients, reduce waste, add more plants, avoid excessive processed meat or even excessively processed vegan meat, and all in all, making cookouts healthier and more community-centered. Because it's all about having fun, let's keep it positive. The modern ethical cookout is evolving from maximum meat at the cheapest price toward better ingredients, less waste, healthier people, and a smaller environmental footprint. Moving right into some vegan grilling. Let's get more into this since we've already discussed the downsides of traditional beef burgers and pork hot dogs. Even turkey hot dogs, chicken hot dogs, it's all processed. The modern vegan cookout is no longer just the sad veggie option. Today's grills are packed with smoky mushroom skewers, charred peaches. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Sizzling plant-based sausages, black bean burgers, jerk cauliflower steaks, and rainbow vegetables caramelizing over open flame. For conscious and ethical consumers, grilling plant-based foods has become part of food culture. Part climate action, part culinary creativity. Long before Impossible Burgers even existed, cultures around the world were grilling plant-based foods. We've got Indian street vendors who grilled, and probably still grill, spiced vegetable patties and kofta. Middle Eastern cuisines popularized grilled falafel and vegetable kebabs. East Asian cuisines used grilled tofu, mushrooms, and seitan for centuries. In the West, commercial veggie burgers have become mainstream starting as far back as the early 80s. The first vegetarian hot dogs may date back to 1949, if you can believe it, through early meatless food pioneers connected to vegetarian health movements. Visualize portobello mushrooms sizzling, purple onions blistering at the edges, bright red peppers blackening slightly for sweetness, vegan sausages snapping on the grill beside corn brushed with chili lime oil, pineapple caramelizing into golden candy-like edges. I seriously would have never thought to use pineapple. Did you know IKEA actually reported its veggie hot dog has roughly 7 times less climate impact than a traditional hot dog? Pretty cool. Although I've never tasted it, but I am glad IKEA is offering some innovative food options. And many people assume grilling vegetables is automatically boring or less satisfying, yet modern food science has figured out how to create sizzling fats, smoky aroma compounds, browning reactions, and juicy texture. That's why these modern vegan burgers often char, smoke, and even quote-unquote bleed similarly to our familiar meat products. Here are the best vegan hot dogs and burgers for the grill. The meat-like products are probably the easiest. They are designed to imitate burgers and sausages. And then of course we've got whole food veggie grilling, beans, mushrooms, lentils, carrots, tofu, vegetables. Here are some of the top rated brands. The best smoky stadium style dog is going to be Field Roast Signature Stadium Dog plant-based hot dogs. You can find them at Whole Foods and a lot of other places. The best spicy sausage for grilling, Beyond Meat Hot Italian plant-based sausage. Sounds good. And the most budget-friendly classic vegan hot dog is Lifelite Smart Dogs Veggie Protein Links. They are super affordable, around $4 a pack. And for a traditional but veggie-forward burger, you could try Morningstar Farms Grillers Original Veggie Burgers. So the aforementioned styles of burgers and dogs are going to either be wheat protein, pea protein, soy protein, or a soy grain blend. And even though this is not a recipe style program, there are a couple ideas I'm going to give for your grilling out pleasure. Mushrooms, if you get portobellos, they become deeply savory and smoky when grilled. You can marinate your portobello mushrooms with soy sauce, balsamic vinegar, garlic, and smoked paprika. And the mushroom is actually going to absorb the flavor like a sponge. Corn, grilling it caramelizes natural sugars. That's why it always tastes better when you grill it instead of like boil corn on the cob or fry it on the pan. So much better on the grill. And cauliflower steaks, this one I have yet to try. Large slabs develop crispy edges and soft centers. They look like golden bronze tree rings with blackened spice crusts. Zucchini and eggplants, that would be great with olive oil, herbs, and lemon finishing. If you do fruit on the grill, and that does tend to surprise people, such as myself, the sugars actually caramelize and the acidity balances the smoky foods and the texture becomes jammy and rich. So you're getting that savory, sweet combo, which I love, love, love. And grilling is not something I do every day. I don't even own a grill, but of course, if you are going to a 4th of July celebration or a party, or you have your own grill, these are all great things to add. However your guests may choose to eat, it's great to have options. I especially find this to be a great opportunity for people to try the veggie options. And then guess what ends up happening at those parties? They find out that the veggie burger actually tastes better than the beef burger. And then they keep going back for more. And that's like, hey, those are for me. But I let it pass because number one, I need to limit myself, obviously. Hello. And two, it is so nice to see people open-minded like that, and not just open-minded enough to try it, but actually seeing that they prefer it. So that encourages them to buy it the next time they go to the store. You never know. It's like subtly converting people vegan. That's another topic for another time. Here are some more grilling tips and hacks. Freeze burgers before grilling. Softer veggie burgers hold together better if they're chilled first. Oil the food, not the grill. This is going to reduce sticking and flare-ups. You can also use grill baskets. Those are for the smaller vegetables that fall through the grates easily. Add acid at the end. This is like my favorite part. It's like the cherry on the ice cream sundae, except for me, it's going to be lemon juice, pickled onions, vinegar, chimichurri. Those all make grilled vegetables taste brighter and richer. Use a double skewer. That is a trick. Use 2 skewers instead of 1 for things like tofu and vegetables so they spin while flipping them. When shopping for your plant-based meat, you might encounter some of these modern food technologies, which are using pea protein, mushroom mycelium, fermentation, precision fats, and algae oils. Those are all great innovations that improve flavor and reduce the environmental impact. Have you ever heard of a carrot hot dog? That's one of the weirdest and surprisingly beloved innovations. A marinated carrot is smoked and grilled until it resembles a hot dog in texture and appearance. It looks almost identical to a traditional hot dog, surprisingly, with a glossy bun, mustard stripe, charred grill marks, but bright orange underneath. Just an idea. I've never had one. I'd try it though. Why not? Experts predict future grilling may include cultivated meat hybrids, mushroom-based proteins, low-carbon charcoal alternatives, solar-powered grills, why haven't they done that yet, compostable packaging, hyper-local urban farming, and the modern vegan grill is becoming a symbol of lower emissions, creative cooking, animal welfare, global food innovation, and ethical consumer culture. For many people, it turns out smoky grilled vegetables and plant-based burgers are not even a compromise, they are just delicious. And it makes your grill super colorful, just like the rainbow. People are way more attracted to seeing yellows and reds and greens and all these different colors you can whip out on the grill instead of just brown and black smoky meat. Way more social media friendly for your photo ops when you've got a plate that looks very flamboyant. Moving on to beer. Yeah, you probably never thought what ethics could be behind beer in terms of animal welfare, the environment, and health. You might have thought about that one. So let's go on to beer. This is beer through the ethical and eco-conscious lens. You can imagine a cold amber lager growing gold in the sunlight, a dark stout with a creamy tan foam, hazy IPA swirling with orange and pineapple aromas like tropical juice, and farmhouse ales poured in rustic ceramic mugs. Beer is one of humanity's oldest social drinks, but behind the frothy head is a complicated story involving agriculture, labor, water, energy, packing, animal products, and global corporations. We're also going to find out if beer is really vegan. So yes, beer is ancient, and archaeologists think humans started brewing beer over 7,000 years ago in places like Mesopotamia and China, not Germany, like you might think. Some historians even argue beer helped inspire agriculture itself. Workers who built the pyramids in ancient Egypt were partly paid in beer. Medieval European water was often unsafe. Yes, I have heard this. Sometimes weak beer was actually safer to drink than water because the water was just that bad. And monasteries became brewing centers because monks refined recipes and sanitation practices. So thank you, monks. Industrialization changed beer forever because during the 1800s, refrigeration, railroads, glass bottling, and mass advertising turned beer into a global industry. The downside was industrial farming, monoculture, barley and hops, and high-energy production systems. So moving on to the animal welfare, is beer vegan? Many assume all beer is vegan, but that's not always true. Animal ingredients can sometimes be used in beer because some breweries are going to use isinglass, which is fish bladder collagen. Yes, that is weird, but it is actually very common. They use it for wine as well, isinglass, and they're not going to even list that on the packaging. So if you see a beer or a wine that specifies it's vegan, that's pretty much the only way that you know it's safe unless you do some hardcore research, which is not ideal while you're standing there in the store trying to Google everything. Some breweries also use lactose, which can be milk sugar. They can add honey if they're trying to flavor it in some way, and gelatin, especially in stouts, milk beers, and the clarification process. Vegan beer exists, and many modern breweries now use plant-based fining agents. They skip filtering it or create naturally hazy beers. There is an app called Barnivore specifically for vegan-friendly alcohol. So that's pretty cool. The environmental impact of beer. Beer is, after all, mostly water. Brewing it, though, 1 pint might require several gallons of water when you think about the crop irrigation, the equipment cleaning, cooling systems, and packaging production. You know, those giant stainless steel tanks being rinsed repeatedly with steaming hot water, and then you've got acres of thirsty barley fields all over the landscape, and as we know, sadly, water scarcity is becoming a real issue, and it's one of brewing's biggest ethical concerns. Do you like to drink your beer from a can or a glass bottle? I can absolutely taste the difference, and I like glass bottles. On tap is the most preferred, as well as being in Germany with beers that they don't export, sitting in a beer garden in the sun. That's my ideal sip of beer. But let's talk about aluminum cans versus glass bottles. Aluminum cans, the pros, lighter shipping weight, which matters environmentally, highly recyclable, lower transport emissions. Cons, mining bauxite damages ecosystems. That's how they make aluminum. And recycling rates actually vary. The glass bottles, the pros, they are reusable in some regions and chemically stable. Cons, very energy intensive to produce and pretty heavy to transport. In Germany, if you've ever been, and I mentioned Germany because as we know, it's like the beer capital of the world, they mostly drink out of bottles. Yes, beer in cans does exist, and it is quite cheap. Actually, all of it's cheap, but the bottles are definitely preferred for those beer connoisseurs that live there and love it. But let's talk about labor and fairness in the beer industry. Farm labor issues. Do you know what beer is made from? Well, beer ingredients include barley, hops, sugar, and fruit. Agricultural workers can face low wages, pesticide exposure, seasonal instability, and poor housing conditions. A surprising amount of different beer brands are owned by giant multinational corporations. Major beer conglomerates dominate global markets through acquisitions, which can squeeze out small breweries, pressure those farmers, and reduce local economic resilience. So I highly recommend if you have a local brewery, that's always the one to try to support. What are some ethical and eco-conscious beer brands? The following companies are often praised for sustainability, transparency, renewable energy efforts, worker culture, and ethical sourcing. Standards can change over time, so take this with a grain of salt. We have New Belgium Brewing, known for employee ownership roots, renewable energy leadership, strong sustainability reporting, water reduction efforts. And their most famous beer is Fat Tire Amber Ale. Ah, yes, I have had that one. It is pretty good. Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. They are known for solar power, water reclamation systems, zero waste initiatives, methane fuel recovery. Hopworks Urban Brewery. I don't think I've seen that one before. Focuses heavily on bike culture, organic ingredients, renewable energy, and sustainability education. There are even some breweries pursuing B Corp certifications to show off their worker standards, environmental practices, and governance transparency. Does organic beer really make that much of a difference? Well, the benefits may include it came from healthier soil, lower chemical runoff, and more biodiversity. It's going to be more expensive, and for those involved in production, the yields can be lower. Buying that local beer can reduce shipping emissions, packaging waste, and middleman costs. It's also going to support local jobs, local agriculture, and community wealth. There are some misconceptions about beer. Some might think craft beer automatically means ethical, but not necessarily. Some craft breweries still waste huge amounts of water, underpay their workers, or use unsustainable packaging. Small doesn't necessarily mean sustainable. Canned beer is cheap quality. Well, just ask me back in college. Historically, maybe, but today many premium beers are canned because cans block light damage, preserve freshness, and reduce transport emissions. I just always taste that aluminum aftertaste. You know what I mean? It has like that aluminum twist at the end. No thanks. Dark beer is stronger. No, the color does not determine the alcohol strength. Some dark stouts are lower ABV than pale IPAs. Let's talk about beer and climate change. Climate change that we face today is actually threatening hop yields, barley quality, and flavor stability. Researchers think beer ingredients are going to get more expensive, lower quality, or regionally scarce. Extreme heat can damage aroma compounds in hops. So if you like your beer, stop eating your beef burgers. That's what that translates to. And beer waste. Large breweries generate spent grain, wastewater, carbon emissions, and packaging waste. But the good news, spent grain is increasingly being turned into animal feed, flour, mushroom farming substrate, and even vegan snacks. Some innovations in the beer production world would be carbon capture brewing. Some breweries now capture fermentation CO2s and reuse it for carbonation instead of purchasing industrial gas, reducing emissions and cost. There's also regenerative agriculture. They support cover crops, soil restoration, reduced tillage, and water recycling systems, closed loop water systems, filtration technology, and heat recovery. So let's get back to the consumer side of things. Here's how you can drink more sustainably. Look for those vegan labels, organic ingredients, local brewing, B Corp certification, better packaging, transparent sourcing. And beer, after all, has been ceremonial, communal, artistic, and agricultural. So today's ethical beer movement tries to reconnect brewing with local systems, worker dignity, sustainable farming, and transparency. So it's not just a question of does this beer taste good, but also who made it? How was it made? What impact did it have on animals, people, and the planet? All good questions to ponder while sipping a brew. And last but not least, on today's episode, I saved it for the grand finale, fireworks. What would 4th of July be without fireworks? Of course. And I'm going to take a guess that fireworks are not too environmentally friendly. Don't get me wrong, they are gorgeous. They are a spectacle. Here in the United States, we love to overdo everything. So we always make such a big deal out of those fireworks at the 4th of July. It was kind of fun as a kid, don't get me wrong, but still to this day, I am like way too loud. I just don't like it. I don't like the loudness. It's just not that appealing to me. Maybe I'm desensitized from AI, all these other visual effects that we're so spoiled with, but I don't know. It's just, Anyway, typical 4th of July, a summer night sky exploding with gold neon comets streaking upward, crackling willow branches drifting slowly, and bursts expanding across the darkness. Fireworks are designed to imitate nature. Flowers, waterfalls, stars, spider webs, palm trees, thunder. And now we've got those drones too. But behind the dazzling visuals are major environmental, labor, animal welfare, and public health concerns. For one, did you know that fireworks can cause heavy metal pollution, air quality spikes, plastic and paper debris, worker exploitation when they're being manufactured, fire danger, trauma for wildlife, pets, and veterans. Chemical contamination of waterways. For us ethical consumers, fireworks are pretty complex. They originated in China about 2,000 years ago. Alchemists accidentally created gunpowder using sulfur, charcoal, and potassium nitrate. Today, they are all over the world. There are royal celebrations and artistic shows in just about every culture. Did you know that different metals create those different colors? Copper creates the blue in fireworks. Strontium is red. Sodium is yellow. Barium is green. And magnesium is white sparkles. Many of those, since they're metals, they're also environmental pollutants. So that's where that comes from. Fireworks release fine particulate matter, PM 2.5 to be exact, heavy metals, sulfur compounds. After large celebrations like our 4th of July or New Year's Eve, air pollution can spike dramatically for hours or days. Some studies found that fireworks can temporarily raise pollution levels higher than rush hour traffic in major cities. And not only that, it can contaminate water and soil. It can affect aquatic ecosystems and even interfere with thyroid function in humans and animals. Those spent castings, fuses, and plastic fragments often end up on beaches, in storm drains, and inside parks and forests. Not to mention the wildlife. They are traumatized because they experience fireworks very differently. Dogs, as you might know, they panic, they escape fences, they injure themselves. But wild birds even can abandon their nests, collide with buildings, suffer fatal stress events. Marine animals are affected by debris and chemical runoff. So animals don't get used to fireworks. That's not a thing. Where do the fireworks come from? Well, a large percentage of the world's fireworks are manufactured in parts of China and India. Concerns include dangerous factory conditions, child labor, chemical exposure, low wages, factory explosions. Yikes. One of the best known firework manufacturing regions is in a name I can't pronounce, India, where labor rights advocates have raised concerns for decades. But how do you know if they're produced badly? Do you have to look at the brand of firework? I don't even know of any brands of fireworks, really. I just know the types of fireworks. It sounds like the solution is just reducing overall consumption of fireworks. And are fireworks vegan? Surprisingly, not always. What now? Some fireworks and pyrotechnics may involve animal-derived glues, shellac, and stearic acid from animal fat. Most consumers never think about this because ingredient labeling is limited. Yeah, they're not even going to have ingredients on fireworks, do they? See, I don't buy enough fireworks and I don't see them at the store often enough to really observe all of the ingredients that are going on with fireworks. I just assume it's all bad. Even if it is vegan, it's not going to be good for the environment and from an eco-friendly perspective. What about those light drone shows? Well, that is an eco-friendly and way more ethical alternative. You could have thousands of those synchronized drones that create animals, logos, animations, and constellations, and even storytelling scenes. It's the modern firework. Way more sustainable for sure. The advantages: they are reusable, quieter, no smoke, lower fire risk, and programmable artistry. The misconception is that drone shows are boring compared to fireworks, but modern drone shows can create moving 3D scenes impossible with traditional fireworks. Those laser and projection shows, cities increasingly combine lasers, projection mapping, music, and holographic visuals. These systems dramatically reduce particulate pollution. Low noise fireworks. Oh, thank you. For myself and anyone else who has a sensitivity to hearing, some companies now manufacture quiet fireworks, reduced boom pyrotechnics, low smoke fireworks, and these are especially helpful for not just myself, pets, autistic individuals, wildlife sensitive areas, and veterans with PTSD. So the innovation and progress going on with fireworks is that researchers are trying to develop nitrogen-rich compounds, chlorine-free fireworks, biodegradable castings, and reduced metal color systems. The goal is to maintain that color brilliance while reducing the toxic residue. Some innovations include compostable launch tubes, paper-only castings, biodegradable confetti alternatives, AI and digital choreography. I feel like I mention AI on almost every episode these days. Modern light shows increasingly use AI timing systems, GPS coordinated drones, precision ignition software. That's going to reduce accidental waste, failed launches, unnecessary chemical discharge. So you as a consumer can support those quiet firework festivals, search for silent fireworks, low noise pyrotechnics, drone festivals. A lot of communities will offer them. And protect your pets. Before the fireworks, close the curtains, use some white noise, provide hiding spaces, and walk your dogs early before the event. And clean up debris. After your events, pick up castings, remove plastic fragments, avoid leaving trash in parks and beaches. All in all, the big debate with fireworks, many eco-conscious consumers ask, can celebrations still feel magical without pollution and suffering? Yes, but through creativity, cleaner technology, quieter celebrations, and community-driven innovation. The future may look less like explosive smoke clouds and more like silent illuminated drones, immersive projections, biodegradable effects, renewable energy-powered light festivals. The goal is not necessarily eliminating the celebration, but redesigning it for a healthier relationship with people, animals, workers, and ecosystems. Well, that was our 4th of July episode today. I sincerely hope you learned a lot about burgers, beer, and fireworks, the triad components, the core components of a great 4th of July. I hope you take my tips and can apply them in some way to your upcoming celebration. Just remember to stay safe. Thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, whatever it is, wherever it is, socials, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And be sure to join me next time on the ShopLogic podcast. Bye.